also set to without prior notice?
This is the point at which
This
we would
is
be
that
adding.
prior notice. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so, but before that, is there any objection to the 20 minutes for the policy manual changes? Hearing none, Ms. Van Horn.
How long is media, by the way?
Media was 10.
A member of LPIN had sent notices to a couple members, and I was one of them, of this board, about LP, our page, sharing information to Facebook, and I would like to have us discuss that. The other issue I want to discuss, which is totally separate from that, was something that prompted me yesterday.
Orders, we deal with orders.
Oh, one at a time, okay.
We do, so it is clearer if we deal with each agenda item you're requesting to add separately, because there may be parts of one or not the other. So what was the first one? Is
discussing the LP page, our Libertarian Party internet page, sharing information to Facebook.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to amend the agenda for how long?
Well, that's a good one. I think 15 minutes, could be done sooner if it wants.
I would suggest you might ask for 10, and then maybe you're likely to go without objection.
10?
Is there any objection to that? Would that work? All right, 10 minutes for Facebook data sharing. Go ahead.
Okay, the second item, I think there is a conflict of interest. I believe the people that are managing the debate at our national convention are also our convention committee. And one of those people who was orchestrating the debate, who was, the debate organizer, is now a VP candidate for the Libertarian Party, and other members of that committee are also. And Sam has publicly endorsed Ken, which is fine. But I think there's a conflict of interest. There is a conflict of interest between the people that organize that debate and also members of the same committee running for office where the debate would be moderated and organized. I would like to have that discussed. 10 minutes.
Just a question. Is there an intended LNC action associated with that discussion?
Well,
is there something that this board can do that you would ask us to do?
Well, I figured that would come out in discussion because I don't know what we can do.
Well, that's a little cart before the horse. What the members of the body need to know before they know whether or not they want to give you the agenda time to discuss it is this discussion going to lead to a motion of some sort, or is this going to be just a discussion?
I will defer.
If it's just discussion, it's more likely.
I will defer to Dr. Lark's experience with him, and I will withdraw that from today.
If you would indulge me for a moment, I think I can address some concerns.
Without objection, very briefly.
Ken has already said he's going to recuse himself from any discussion whatsoever about any of the debates. In fact, not just the vice chair debate. I think he's planning on running the presidential and vice presidential debates separately, as like everybody in one's on the video, and that has nothing to do with his running. Debates that he will be participating in.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other requests for amendments to the agenda, we'll proceed to orders of the day. We're now on 10 minutes, Mr. Hagan, on pet and or young child memberships. Sorry.
As a point of order, since we're continuing the policy manual amendment, should we not be continuing with the new business with the previous notice first?
No, because the way we amended the agenda, we did not have this time.
Okay.
This time was not there. It's been added in, and my general practice is as we add in, I put them at the end of the queue based on the order in which they're added. Go ahead, Mr. Hagan, and 10 minutes.
Okay. I will move to add a subsection to policy manual, section 2.05, membership policy. Actually emailed this out last night. It says people may purchase a junior membership for young children or mascot membership for pets for $15. This program is designed for those incapable of signing the membership certification. Junior members and mascot members are entitled to no rights or benefits other than receiving a membership card.
Second.
Moved and seconded
us knows how this convention got started. It seems like a lot of people, a lot of our members in social media are interested in buying a quasi-membership for their pets, so it seems like a fundraising opportunity that also does not skew the numbers of our sustaining members. That would have been like convention delegates, regional reps, or the committee assignments.
One more, so I have Mr. Goldstein, Dr. Lark, Mr. Longstreth, Mr. Smith. Did I take that in like? I wasn't looking, so. So Mr. Smith, Mr. Goldstein, Dr. Lark, Mr. Longstreth, Ms. Mattson, Ms. Billiou, Mr. Fishman, the sound was a little low.
Yep.
So Mr. Smith, go ahead.
I really like the proposal. I think it's a great idea. My only concern is so I know that we've had young kids at national and that were delegates that were old enough to understand what that pledge meant and become members. So, I mean, at what point do we allow them to be involved in the process if they were to buy a membership?
Is that a question or just a concern?
I mean, that's my only concern with the language, the current language.
I'm just trying to, are you asking him to respond?
Sure, yeah.
Or
If you could, if you could.
Dr. Lark?
That actually, that's a bylaw issue, because delegates to our national convention they have to be members either of the national party or a state party. State party criteria would govern something like that. And the Libertarian Party of Oregon, for example, had members who were children. So that's actually a bylaws issue.
So, I think that does sound like the right answer. The answer is that this proposal doesn't specify fits into the junior membership versus who is buying a normal sustaining membership. There isn't an age line. It does not exist at this time. So the proposal doesn't clear it up, but it also doesn't change the fact that there isn't one. Mr. Goldstein.
I've got a question. Mr. Kraus, what's it cost us to process a membership card?
Couple bucks.
Okay, so $15 at least, we're not losing money on it, right?
We're not going to lose money.
By net, about 10-ish.
I move to amend the motion to substitute the word auxiliary for junior membership, and there's also not anything mentioned in there about a mascot member, so I move to delete those words and just make this an auxiliary membership for both young children and for pets.
I'll second.
I'll second.
I'll ask for the second once I'm sure that the amendment's clear.
I just wanted to substitute the word auxiliary for junior.
She's going to use auxiliary
And strike the word
instead of
mascot.
So it would be.
So you want, may purchase an auxiliary membership for young children or for pets for
Right.
$15?
Okay, so
It's up to you.
I'm understanding the amendment. I believe, the amendment, as I heard it, will also change junior and mascot in the third sentence of the amendment. So it'll say auxiliary members are entitled to no rights nor benefits other than receiving a membership card. Okay.
That's fine.
I believe, that's why we're doing this. So his amendment would strike junior, replace it with auxiliary, and strike or a mascot membership. Sorry, strike a mascot membership. And in the third sentence would strike junior, replace it with auxiliary, and strike and mascot members. Got it? It's been seconded by Mr. Longstreth. Would you like to speak to it?
I think junior membership implies some kind of membership rights, even though generally the motion states that they're not there. And auxiliary is just something that's an add-on to an organization.
Okay. That's the amendment. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the amendment, either for or against? wants to speak to the amendment?
Mr. Wayne.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Wayne, I did not see you. If there's not objection, Mr. Wayne.
I'm in support of the amendment. I think the simpler language we keep and the less tiers we introduce, it makes sense.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to speak on the amendment? Ms. Mattson?
So is it still called auxiliary membership or?
Yes.
Okay, right. And then the last sentence should be entitled to no rights or benefits rather than no?
That's great. That's beyond me.
I think you're correct.
I mean,
It's,
neither nor, but.
this is a stylistic issue, and I don't think either are grammatically incorrect. I mean,
I don't want to spend too much time on it.
anything else on the amendment? Ms. Bilyeu and Mr. Hewitt.
If it's gonna be considered an auxiliary membership, does it have to be then attached to a regular membership? Or can someone buy an auxiliary one only and then themselves never be ever out?
That, well, to answer a question, and this is actually a question that relates somewhat to Tara's work and just how we account for things internally. All the reports have you have the sustaining members, but then you have donors, right? There are people that give us money that they're not part of the cult. They just give us the money. What this would do is essentially it would create a card of sorts for those people. So somebody could be an auxiliary member for themselves, get a little card that says I'm an auxiliary member, never sign the pledge, never, they have a card, so I guess they say the card carrying, carry a card. But that's how I interpret what would happen. Does that answer your question? I'm just checking to make sure I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hewitt.
Well, this isn't grammatic, but semantically speaking, your job has been described as herding cats several times, so aren't felines already included?
Existential problems are too early for non Are there any other people who wish to speak to the amendment? Are we ready to proceed to a vote on the amendment?
I was gonna say one thing. I just think this is kind of a fun gimmicky thing, and I think it's great. I just think mascot and junior member sounds better than auxiliary member.
Okay.
That's just me.
All right. I will go to hands for this. So all in favor of Mr. Goldstein's amendment, which would replace junior mascot with auxiliary, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 to 7, the amendment passes. So now the amended motion is auxiliary membership, but otherwise the same. As I recall on deck, I had, after Mr. Goldstein, I believe I had, is it Lark or Lark?
Actually, Mr. Longstreth got his hand up slightly before I did.
Longstreth, Lark, and then it was Bilyeu, Mattson, and then we'll go Van Horn and Adams. And Carlos, sorry. Where were you in that?
I have no idea, but
We'll get there. Mr. Longstreth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, folks, we've got, obviously, this is an issue of some importance because it's come before us, and it's a fun way for us to get a little bit more funding while solving the issue or potential issue of people who have not signed the pledge, or pets who have not signed the pledge, or people signing up people that, affecting delegate numbers, basically. So this is a potential solution to the delegate number question. So I urge support on that. Additionally, there is an audience for pet merchandise, right? So I have committed that if the LP can add a dog collar that has the LP logo on it, I'll be one of the first to sign up. And if we have an auxiliary membership that allows this sort of thing to happen, and we can tie into this, and it brings additional sort of merchandise to our store, why wouldn't we look at this? It doesn't hurt us in any way whatsoever, and it's just a fun thing, and it doesn't hurt our delegates. As far as the age thing goes, again, that's a state's issue, but I also want to point out that ultimately, if somebody views themselves as conscious and able to make that decision, and they're 12 years old, and they choose to sign up as a national affiliate, and they sign the pledge and everything else, they already can do that, or 10 years old, or whatever that age limit is. So So it really, that shouldn't be so much of one of our concerns. So with that, I think that this is a fun, new, innovative sort of program, and I think that we should very seriously consider it. And if it goes nowhere, then it goes nowhere. But if it goes somewhere, hey, maybe we get a couple extra $100.
Time, Mr. Chairman.
Time has expired. Is there a motion to extend?
Yes.
For how long?
10 minutes.
Is a motion to extend?
Objection.
Objection to 10. Six.
All right, well, I'll withdraw my objection to 5.
There's no objection for 5 that I hear. Will be extended for 5 minutes. I believe Dr. Larkin.
Yes, the point I was going to raise was actually taken care of by virtue of the amendment.
Okay. Ms. Billiou?
Yeah, so I see the way this is worded, people may purchase these auxiliary memberships, but there's nothing here that says they have to. So are we prohibiting them then from purchasing an actual membership for their animals and their children? And if we're not, what's the point of this? Why don't we just go ahead and get the $25 instead of the $15? If the delegate issue is the issue, that this does not keep them from doing that.
It does not keep them from doing
It doesn't
what?
keep people from signing up their animals and then affecting delegate counts,
I'm sorry.
right?
I'm trying to understand.
She's saying they can still physically go do it. There's no.
This does not prohibit someone from filling out the form, checking all the boxes and saying that they are an individual who is competent to make a political campaign contribution and agrees with the statement of, or the non-aggression pledge, and checks the box and submits the money, and if they submit the money and they check the box, then we take the money.
Right, which is my point. If they can still do that, this doesn't change whether they're gonna do that. Only this is gonna give them a cheaper option.
Well,
So-
if they get the cheaper option, then they don't get put into the delegate allocation queue. If they take the cheaper option, they do not get a membership, a sustaining membership that counts for that delegate allocation.
Okay, so is that $10 difference? How do we weigh that $10 difference that we're now not getting for that animal versus the potential delegate
Mr. Kraus?
change?
So, for example, we had a donor who paid for 3 quote-unquote memberships that were obviously for their pets. I recorded that as a $75 donation. They will get a nice little thank you letter for $75 donation, and that's it. They did get 3 new memberships for their pets because it was obvious what that was, you know, and that's how we're currently handling it. If we have this program, I assume this donor would have gone online and paid $15 so that she could
45.
have, or he could have a card
Yeah.
with their pet's name on it.
Yeah.
That's all.
'Cause there's
So
3
if
pets,
we're
right?
aware of it, we're going to fix the problem internally.
But your way, we were getting $75. This way, we only get 45.
I got
Not,
nothing.
it doesn't always make economic sense to solve problems. Sometimes it makes economic sense not to solve problems. But that's just general wisdom for life. I have Ms. Mattson, Ms. Parlos, I have Mr. Merced at the table, and I had, I believe, Ms. Adams not at the table.
Problem internally.
And Ms. Van Horn, were you in there or not? Ms. Van Horn, were you on deck or not?
But
Okay.
your way, we were getting $75. This way, we only get 45.
Mattson, Parlos,
I got
not Van Horn. It doesn't always make economic sense to solve problems. Sometimes it makes economic sense not to solve problems. But that's just
People would fill out, I am a U.S. citizen, and I certify that, yada, yada, for some, for an entity that clearly can't do that. But you want to disincentivize that, okay? If you give them some alternate path, so they can still have a little fun, and you can't put up a physical prohibition. You know, we don't know all the names of everybody's pets. I can go pick 30 goldfish, and you guys don't know what I name them. And you know, you can't put up a prohibition wall because we just don't have the info. So just give them something they can do to reduce the chances that they do something fraudulent and mess with our numbers. Obviously, we'll watch for things that we know are not valid. But beyond that, is this intended to be a one-time purchase, or is it something that you would have renewed every year? Because that, as it's written, just looks like a one-time purchase. To reduce the chances that they do
I've talked briefly with Dan, and very low
mess with our numbers. Obviously, we'll watch for things that we know are not valid. But beyond that, is this intended to be a one-time purchase, or is it something that you would have renewed every year? Because that, as it's written, just looks like a one-time purchase. To reduce the chances that they do.
I've talked briefly with Dan, and very low
mess with our numbers. Obviously, we'll watch for things that we know are not valid. Beyond that, is this intended to be a one-time purchase, or is it something that you would have renewed every year? Because that, as it's written, just looks like a one-time purchase. To reduce the chances that they do.
I've talked briefly with Dan, and very low
mess with our numbers. Obviously, we'll watch for things that we know are not valid. Beyond that, is this intended to be a one-time purchase, or is it something that you would have renewed every year? Because that, as it's written, just looks like a one-time purchase. To reduce the chances that they mess with our numbers. Obviously, we'll watch for things that we know are not valid. Beyond that, is this intended to be a one-time purchase, or is it something that you would have renewed every year? Because that, as it's written, just looks like a one-time purchase. To reduce the chances that they mess
are we doing our due diligence when we ask people, is this person an American citizen, et cetera? Very brief. There has to be a consideration of what is the legal obligation on the party to ensure he is an active member. Are we doing our due diligence when we ask people, is this person an American citizen, et cetera? Very brief. There has to be a consideration of what is the legal obligation on the party
To extend for 2 minutes so I can ask a question about how this plays with another policy, 2.05.2.
The amendment or the underlying motion?
Fair point, it is on the main motion rather than the amendment.
At the point after we resolve the amendment, you will raise a point of order about whether or not the amendment will be in order or in conflict with that policy manual. And I will respond to that point of order because that takes precedence over the vote. So there's not a need to extend time for it, it's required. At least that's how that's what my back of the envelope tells me.
Well, we can couch it as a point of order, I just don't,
Okay.
we'll
But
have to
can we do
figure out how to
that, can we
impact
do
it.
that after the amendment?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, we'll move to a vote on the amendment. The Harlos amendment is to strike the young children so that it would only apply to pets. Is that correct? Okay. Is there any question about the amendment? And yes, we'll adopt the Harlos amendment to be part of the main motion, and no will be to leave it as children or pets.
So we'd have to take out 4 young children or.
Correct. All in favor of the Harlos amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will vote against the Harlos amendment. It fails. We will now proceed to a vote.
Sorry, what was the vote on that?
Huh?
I thought 7 to 8, okay.
It was 7-7 and then voted.
Okay, all right.
We go back to the underlying motion, which is now, it is auxiliary membership for young children or pets. Ms. Mattson, did you have a question about whether or not that motion conflicts with another policy manual provision?
Yeah, so the question is how it impacts it. So in section 2.05.2, and this is where we have the association levels, chairman circle, select benefactor, all those things. And down at the bottom, it says contribution levels. So contributions are different from purchases. If you
Right.
buy a t-shirt, it doesn't extend your membership in it,
Right.
right? But then contribution levels are based on transfers of cash or its equivalent where there is no exchange of goods, services, or quid pro quo, such as in the case of convention package sales. We're not selling them a thing. So if someone puts in $15 for their pet, does it count towards their personal membership contribution levels? Because we're not giving them a thing in exchange for it.
Yes, it is styled as a donation. It is not,
So they
the
give them a
card is not a thing of value in the way that the FEC thinks about it, in the way that a t-shirt would be.
So
The card is an acknowledgement. Acknowledgements are not considered to be of meaningful value unless they rise to the level of like big tchotchkes. So I don't believe it conflicts. Does that answer your question?
Well, so I just, the implication of that is they can put in $15, buy something for their pet, they don't have to put in another $10 in their sustaining member.
No, they would have to do another $10 to be a sustaining member for the year, but that would make them a sustaining
benefit.
member because we would have received more than $25 from them in the calendar year, even if they also got an auxiliary
So
membership
to
card
break
for
it
their
up, you
pet.
get a pet membership and a sustaining membership for the same $25.
You could theoretically game the system that way. Yes, but that's the answer to the question. I don't believe there's any point of order problem, but that since we don't have time, we're not going to engage in debate. And I don't think it's in order, if you are moving to table it, you should look around the room first.
Well, I'm not, I can't read faces. I'll move to extend 30 seconds for a motion to postpone indefinitely so that we can sort that out and maybe try to avoid that if it's an unintended consequence.
There's a motion, there's a motion and a second to extend for 30 seconds to allow a motion to postpone this item indefinitely. Is there objection?
Yes.
Objection. All in favor of extending time for that purpose, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will not extend time for that purpose.
What was the first one?
7, 6.
Thank you.
We'll move to a vote on the underlying motion. We can have this be roll call if you want it, or we can do it with hands. Is there a request for roll call?
Yes.
Okay. It'll be a roll call vote.
Roll call. May we hear the?
Yes.
I thought we still had people on deck that hadn't been heard from.
No, we're out of
We're out of time,
Oh,
and no one wants to extend.
okay, I didn't realize that the vote was for that, sorry.
No, we're out of time.
Okay.
So this is a vote on the main.
The main motion, do you have the marked up language where I can just read it? Because otherwise I have to
Well, I
do the
gotta
edits
go
in my head.
Well, you have to do the edits in your head.
Okay, I'll do the edits in my head. So, as amended, as I recall it, it would say, people may purchase an auxiliary membership for young children or pets for $15. This program is designed for those incapable of signing the membership certification. Auxiliary members are entitled to no rights nor benefits other than receiving a membership card. Does everyone understand the motion? We'll proceed to the roll call.
Okay. Second. Ms. Beaulieu?
No.
Mr. Bishop Henchman?
Aye.
Mr. Goldstein?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
I will vote no. Dr. Olson?
No.
Dr. Law?
Abstain.
Mr. Longshore?
Pass.
Ms. Madison?
No.
Mr. Merced?
Yes.
Mr. Nikhilov?
I vote aye.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Ms. Van Horn?
Yes.
The pass was Mr. Longstreth?
Abstain.
Mr. Chair, the vote is 10 yes, 4 no, 2 abstentions. Would you like to vote?
No, thank you. It passes. All right, next item on the agenda is Mr. Ford, 10 minutes on national debate participation.
Thank you, Mr. Sauer. For those of you who haven't had a come out everybody at this point, my name is Pat Ford. I'm from Reno. I am the alternate for Region 8, filming for Mr. O'Donnell. I'm in the earliest stages of creating a working group to foster Libertarian Party participation in the national presidential debates. I'd like to stipulate a few things. The primary objective of the political party is to create a framework and an environment for the election of libertarians. Americans unfortunately view participation in national presidential debates as a litmus test, if you will, for the seriousness and the integrity and the legitimacy, if you will, of our participation in national elections. This group is not meant to preempt or be confused with continuing legal attempts to force participation, if you will, in the national debates. I am also not so naive as to expect some form of instant gratification. In all probability, this will be a prolonged, multi-year process that will require the cooperation of a variety of different groups within the Libertarian Party. As importantly, I'm not asking for any money. What I seek is the imprimatur of the Libertarian Party and the recognition that this is a process to be engaged in at the national level and not wait for every July or August in the quadrennial fourth year post-nomination of a candidate. I see two methods to be engaged in at some point simultaneously in pursuing participation. using our vast social independent media to educate the public as to the origins, the mechanics, the personalities, the frailties, and the failures of the National Debate Commission. Number two, as importantly, work to change the fundamental conversation. Currently, the conversation I had with Mr. Fishman, the argument is, did Gary Johnson get 15%, get 16%? We need to change that because that's a fluctuating total based on a moment in time. It's not reflective of the importance of our movement or the importance of other movements nationally in the conversation. So we need to work to get people to understand that we're not polling on the individual prospect of the relevance of that candidate, but this relevance in the scope of the national participation of our ideologies and why it's important to Americans to have a place at the table. So what I'm looking for, in a sense, is not approval per se, not to be part of the official Libertarian Party framework, but a recognition that this is an important process that needs to start literally last week. These debates commence in just a mere few months, but that also to foster, if you will, participation from a variety of the working groups, the viewpoints, the perspectives of a variety of candidates, movements, caucuses within the party.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. There is too much chatter in the back, please. I'm having trouble hearing Mr. Ford.
And then is there a particular motion you're willing?
No, I'm not. I'm looking to foster conversation within this 10 minutes and also to bring to the party's attention so that this afternoon, this evening, in the coming weeks and days, people will reach out to me and say, I think you've got a great idea there. How do we actually make it happen? B, specifically, lend one's support. Many of us are involved in national, whether it be national elections, if you will, supporting candidates. Some of us are running for internal national office. I realize that would probably, there's a bunch of us who are not so much involved in those processes. And I look to your support, I look to your input, and maybe a little bit of the herding of the cats. Because it's my contention that this election, they're all critical, right? But particularly since we are looking to elect more of a homegrown libertarian, that seems to be the consensus approach of the candidates that we have in place, that it is critical that we find ways to bring together all of the people in the big tent so that we work for one common goal. Because if we do not, the ramifications for both the future of our movement, ballot access, and all the attending issues are critically at stake. And that's the purpose of as much to not only get into the debates at some point, whether it be this election cycle or the next, but to find mechanisms to bring people together to work cooperatively to advance the party and the movement.
Would anyone
I welcome your questions.
Anyone make a comment, questions?
Well, I don't understand. I don't understand what you're asking for, what you want us to do. This has to do with the national. This isn't internal party debates. These aren't pre-convention, these aren't debates in Austin.
I'm looking at the national debates.
Okay, so what do you want us to do? I don't get it. I don't understand what the ask is or what you propose that we do.
I'm looking for people to join with me in the effort and to get some sense of what the temperature is of the party itself. It's something that we've abandoned every 4 years. Clearly, obviously, serious legal action has been taken by a group of very well organized. Unfortunately, it's failed. And people that I speak to see no immediate remedy on legal front. So we can continue to abandon and wait for the actual campaign, if you will, to start up in July, some sort of effort to get involved, or we can look at this as an institutional process that has to be started at some point and should be advocated for by a national party. I think it also promotes value for membership of the national party. We have to show to campaigns and to people who are not as intimate with the processes as we are here that there is value to it. And part of that is helping get people elected, and this is part of that.
Okay, you got Olson and then Carlos.
Sure.
So I think what I hear you saying is that you want to form like an ad hoc committee
A working group, yeah.
of people to address this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to lend my support and say I think that this is a much more important issue than dealing with pet memberships.
Yeah, that is what I was kind of intuiting was the action that you were saying that you kind of like we had the blockchain committee, which was an ad hoc committee for a special issue, that this would be an action committee. And in general, I would support that. In general, I think we need more of that because we need to focus on certain winnable issues. So I would ask that maybe you think about some wording
he is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like he is willing to do more to help move in that direction, but he doesn't want this to be his baby. He wants to get the input from other LNC members. So with that in mind, if I believe, again, if I'm understanding Mr. Ford correctly, that if you're interested in helping him do this and write the language and come up with a mission statement for this ad hoc committee, that you would talk with him and help him write that so that way it can be presented, hopefully in Austin and be ready to go for our next incarnation of this body.
Yeah, there's a vast amount of institutional knowledge in this room that I could never begin to approach. I seek, if you will, not only just the moral support, but also input from folks as to what has worked and what has failed in the past over a variety of elections. You know, ranging back to the very beginning of this national debate that's been foisted upon us by the duopoly. We need to start this as soon as possible. I would actually look to an email motion to create this working group per se, because I think it needs to happen now.
I would be happy to share with you the emails or the mails that I've sent out to various agencies related to debates, that I've had moderate success with.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time spent on it, but I will happily share those with you.
Great, thank you.
Any further comment or questions? With that, we'll wrap up this agenda item. And next we have 20 minutes for policy manual discussion, or
No.
policy manual changes.
No, isn't it media?
Oh no, the debate Longstrap. Mr. Longstrap.
Yes, so, thank you. I don't know if you all saw, as we came in this morning, the LP Georgia presidential debate has now been posted. It is quite professional looking, and there's some quality issues that maybe could continue to be improved upon, absolutely. But it is a standard of quality that I believe would be appropriate media for our website. Now that said, I understand that there are some concerns about not all candidates participated in that debate. We don't want to put forward, any sort of us pushing a certain candidate or candidates. However, because I believe it's quality and because I believe our membership and other people would be interested in easily finding this debate, and I do not believe that it tarnishes our brand, I would like to move to include the LP Georgia debate as a media on our website in order to give people a more informed opinion of our presidential candidates.
Second.
Second from Mr. Phillips. You need to speak to it anymore.
I believe I already have.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Yes, okay, so you say not all the candidates participated in this, and I just saw a few seconds, and I didn't hear any audio when I walked in here today. So first of all, how many candidates have declared in some formal way?
54, 47. Numbers.
A few dozen.
Numbers that I have seen that are active, that I've seen them somewhere, I've seen them do something. That's probably on the order of somewhere between 11 and 15.
Okay, and how many are in this debate?
There were several people that attended. I was not personally there. Mr. McGill, I believe you said you were at the LP Georgia debate. If it is okay with the chair, do you know how many presidential candidates participated?
Yeah, it was 11 or 12.
All right, thank you.
The secretary needed your wording.
I'm writing.
Okay. Mr. Goldstein.
I repeat my opposition to this motion. Our bylaws very clearly state that we're not to give preferential treatment to any presidential candidate before the nomination is concluded. And I think just by helter-skelter, whoever shows up at these state debates and who doesn't, kind of says that we're showing favoritism to the ones that are showing up at the debates. And I'm going to vote against this motion.
Ms. Adams.
I disagree that it shows preference. The candidates all have the opportunity to attend these debates. It's their choice. If they choose not to attend, I don't believe that that adds any additional burden or responsibility to this body.
Point of inquiry.
You're not getting out of order to do a point of inquiry, so Dr. Olson.
Oh, I thought
Mr.
that,
Hagan,
I'm sorry, I thought that was privileged.
It is not. That's a common misconception.
Well, put a dunce cap on me and put me in the corner.
Second.
I'll just put you in the order of people to be recognized. That'll be sufficient.
I agree with Ms. Adams, and I will be supporting this motion. The presidential candidates know that they have an opportunity to speak to the delegates when they go to these state conventions. They know that these debates are being recorded. Some of the state conventions have different rules and requirements as to getting into the debates. I think this is a good way for us to promote our candidates to the public.
Mr. Hagan?
So this may be a point of inquiry, maybe that Mr. Redpath be asking, what were the requirements to get into this debate?
Mr. Thrasher, do you have the answer to that?
I do, in that I believe it was show up.
It was be at the Libertarian Party of Georgia convention.
Okay.
Point of information.
It's still not privileged. We'll get there. Mr. Ford. We already been to Mr. Phillips.
Not in
Mr.
this
Red.
motion. You haven't been to me.
I have not been to you. Okay, then Mr. Ford, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Redpath, Ms. Harlos, and then potentially people from the gallery.
Is it appropriate for me to ask for Mr. Thrasher to give me the opportunity to speak at this moment?
You can be recognized for that purpose, and if there's no objection. Mr. Thrasher.
Thank you. So, first and foremost, I would like to just give a shout out to John McCaskey, Amanda Collins, and the 3L Productions team that did the video on this debate. The video is impeccable. I have some concerns with the quality of the audio, and unfortunately that was something that 3L Productions did not have any say-so over. And saying this as someone whose candidate did, frankly, very, very well in this debate, I have concerns that this particular debate, the audio quality, may not be up to the standard that we want on the national website. I hope that there is a consensus that future debates, professionally produced, with the sufficient quality, might be placed on the website. This particular one, as I said, the video is great, the audio, not so much. So.
Phillips.
This isn't just an opportunity to promote our candidates. It's an opportunity to promote cooperation with our state affiliates. They're putting on these debates. It lets us show a little bit of support for the efforts that they are putting in. And as a previous candidate who was unable to speak on these things before, personally, I think we should have been doing this much earlier. So I will be supporting this.
Mr. Redpath.
Yeah, I'm going to talk now, Mr. Chairman. Were there any other debates that weekend that other candidates were at? I mean, I'm just wondering if your point, Ms. Adams, is certainly valid. If there were no other debates going on at other state conventions, was this the sole presidential debate that weekend?
Of the candidates that have been out there, only Mr. Armstrong was not in this debate. I think he was sick that weekend. He was in California. He was in California. All right, so one of them was in California.
But no other debates anywhere else. That was the only.
Well, I just heard California.
Well, no, there wasn't a debate.
There was not a
Okay, thank you. All right.
It was just
thank you.
at an event in California.
Okay, all right.
All right. I believe I was next to Ms. Harlos.
Whether we like it or not, this is giving preferential treatment because there's more declared candidates. Just because they didn't show up to Georgia, you never know. They could have some weird superstition that they don't go beyond some certain, line on the map. We don't allow preferential treatment, period, end of story. But I have a potential solution to this is that in our community collaborative wiki, anyone can post any debate. And we have a good page rank and people looking for our candidates can go there. I think every and all debate should be just stuck on Lpedia. It's done by people other than the party. It's done by volunteers. Anyone can do it. We have then the distance from it that we're not showing preferential treatment. Let's use that resource for that thing so that we don't get into these messes.
Was Lark or Madison first?
Chip and Dale here.
Beauty before age.
Dr. Lark first.
My feeling is that I feel that there is, that we're basically in a position where we are discriminating against certain candidates. My feeling is that we should have perhaps a section of our website where essentially candidates can post links to whatever they damn well please. Let people go where they want. And that means any candidate can post whatever they choose. Any state party can post debates. Basically, this is, these are libertarian events. We have a set of links. People can go where they please.
That's what LP is.
Ms. Matz.
Well, I think as soon as we put one up, every other state that has one is going to demand that theirs go up also. I think it kind of opens the floodgates, and I would like to request to hear from Mr. Starr. Do you have a question or comment?
Is there an objection to hearing from Mr. Starr?
I object until everyone is able.
There's an objection. All in favor of hearing from Mr. Starr, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, it's in favor?
It is.
Oh, then never mind, I'm confused.
Okay, opposed? Mr. Starr, go ahead.
Thank you. I am a little concerned about showing preference to candidates or even to no candidate at all, since no is an option on our ballot. But if you are going to put debates on the website, I think that decision should be on a perspective basis, rather than saying we're selecting some debate that took place in the past to put on. It seems unfair to candidates for them to learn way after the fact that, oh, this is going to be down on the LP website. I'm sure some candidates may have decided to have been there and they know in advance that was going to be on the LP website. So at the very least, don't do it retroactively, only do it prospectively.
Think I had Mr. Longstreth.
We're out of time, Mr. Chairman.
We are
Move
out of
to
time.
extend for 5 minutes.
Motion to extend for 5. Is there objection to extending for 5? Hearing no objection, we'll extend for 5. I have Mr. Longstreth. I believe Mr. Bishop-Henchman, you've not spoken yet. And Mr. Phillips, and if there's no, and then Mr. Ford, and if there's no objection, Mr. Wayne.
So I want to speak to the standards issue that's been raised. Folks, about 6 months ago at our summer meeting, I tried to form a brief ad hoc discussion committee where we could talk about standards. That way we could put out what video standards, audio standards, et cetera, that we wanted in order to include them on the website. That went absolutely nowhere. That we talked, I think, 2 emails back and forth, and that it died off. So it is not fair for us to continuously move the bar, or not even have a bar for our affiliates to decide, can we meet the standards or not. At some point, we're going to have to put something up there, and if we get complaints that it's not up standard, then we at least have a baseline for standards, and we can start to improve from there. But this committee so far has not set any standards, and it's not fair for us to just keep kicking the ball down the road. Furthermore, this is not an issue of candidates to me. I understand that perspective. This is an issue of affiliates. The affiliates decided to put on a debate. The affiliate has shared this and has put it out there, and we would be supporting the affiliate. And I would be okay with supporting any affiliate that comes up with a somewhat professional-looking sort of debate and putting it on there. Regardless of what their standards are for how they include people in the debates, that is on them. But this is an affiliate support issue, and I want us to keep that in mind. Yes, it features our candidates, but at the same time, if somebody came to me and said, hey, here's a video of my entire convention and it's a quality video, I would be very happy with us hosting that as well. I think LPedia is a fantastic option. I think it should be there too. But not everybody knows about LPedia. It's very much an inside baseball sort of website. I think that a lot of people, when they're starting to flirt with the idea of the party, they're not going to LPedia most of the time first. They're looking at Libertarian Party, and the first hit on Google is LP.org. And that is where this should be featured. Let's feature in both places. I see value in all. However, this is a little bit of a situation where I think that we really, really should have it on the website. Start to collect feedback from our membership. Start to establish more standards. And start to really professionalize as an organization where we support our affiliates and we are open to sharing our candidates with the world.
Mr. Fishman, we may not have criteria, but I think Mr. Fishman has, on our behalf, acting as staff, been communicating certain professional standards that he thinks are important in debates, lighting, sound, set decoration. I think whatever your standards may be, the Georgia debate did meet them. I just listened to the audio a little bit. It's a little like amphitheater echoey, not like conversational audio, but I think that's fine. They did invite all of the candidates, all but one of whom who's active did participate. And it's very high quality and polished. Since they posted it yesterday, they've gotten 347 views even without it being on our website. So, you know, I get we don't want to go back in time and come up with new, you know, retroactively do this, but whatever the standards we could have come up with, I think they met them. And I think other state parties that meet them, we ought to do the same. So I'll be supporting.
Phillips, Ford, Carlos.
To address Mr. Starr's concern, as somebody who was invited to that debate, we were informed that every candidate that was invited was informed that it was going to be recorded with the potential to be put out there. So I don't feel like that has any bearing on it. You know, you wouldn't have known that, so I'm answering your question. I also agree, obviously, I said earlier with Mr. Longstreth on it being affiliate support. As to address the candidate issue, we're behind the 8 ball with our candidates. I mean, and I'm not saying anything against our candidates. What I'm saying is the Democrats and the Republicans have a lot more media opportunity than we do. And so not seizing every opportunity we have is handicapping our candidates.
Mr. Ford, I'll pass this. Ms. Carlos, and then Mr. Went without objection.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry for the chair in addition to my debate. Should I ask my inquiry first?
Inquiry first.
If I believe that this is against the policy manual, is it appropriate to raise a point of order against the consideration of the motion at all?
And it would be appropriate to raise the point of order.
Okay.
Might have been appropriate to raise it earlier, but.
I didn't. I was getting a bit confused.
Go ahead.
But the debate point, I raised my hand. Can I do that first?
To the point of order before the debate, because
Okay.
it's out of order to
Gotcha.
take the debate.
Yeah, I'm raising a point of order that we're simply not allowed to do this under the policy manual.
Specific section and wording that you think is in conflict.
I will have to take that for you.
Well, then their point of order is not well formed yet.
Then may I make my
You
debate
can do your
point?
debate, go ahead.
If the issue is that LPDA is inside baseball, then let's have a page inviting everybody to stick their stuff on LPDA. Make that because there are we wipe our hands of all that kind of stuff there. Advertise LPDA more, send people there.
All right. Mr. Went without objection.
So my look on this is that I'm in a state that's fairly low, but the affiliates are starting to outpace this committee. The affiliates are starting to do more than this committee. And we should be celebrating that. We should be acknowledging that. We should be a party together. The other points that you have is that I want to make is that you need to make everything for the media easy. You don't want to push them to 3 websites. You want to give them an entire press release that says exactly what you want them to say. And if we want media to have exposure to our candidates, we need to feature the most candidates we can without issuing preferential treatment. So I think that putting a well-formed debate on the LP website is the best call.
Point of order.
Time.
I will address the point of order.
We're out of time.
Even though time has expired, I will resolve the point of order. Go ahead.
So now to quote the specific policy manual section, it's under 2.08 political campaigns, subsection 2, limitations on party support for public office. Party resources
I was just double checking.
Yes, sorry, I didn't know that was inappropriate.
No, it's not inappropriate, it was just, it blended together and.
Yeah,
was
that was my
carefully.
words and not the policy.
But that policy manual was pretty aggressive. In response to the point of order, I find that the motion is in order. This debate was previously announced to all presidential candidates that were active by the Libertarian Party of Georgia, as well as to all party members who were, I mean, it was generally announced that this convention was going to happen and people could participate. There is no favoritism in showing a debate, and it is just a debate. It's not somebody saying so-and-so was the winner of the debate, or there's no editorial commentary. So there's no favoritism being shown to any of the participants, and it was available on an equal basis. That's the ruling. Yeah, we'll go as quick as we can.
Well, I'm the aggressive policy man.
I'm just pacing. Pacing is all I'm saying. That's my ruling. There's an appeal from the ruling of the chair. Ms. Harlow, can you speak to your appeal from the ruling of the chair?
Okay, I hadn't heard of this, and I'm a party member officer. This was not pre-announced by the national party. It may have been announced by the Libertarian Party of Georgia, but not announced by the national party to be given notice to all party members. And again, we're looking in the past again. And I would still argue on the whole equal basis thing, but just dealing with the one item that the chair brought up, it was not announced. It was never in an email blast to all of our party members. It was very localized.
Ms. Matson?
In addition to what Ms. Harlow's raised, I think to say that it's available on, the service is available on the basis really opens the door to having to put future ones on as well. If they say, well, our state convention also let anybody participate, I think the equal basis would have to continue going forward so that it's not just this one instance. So to argue that it is announced and available on an equal basis to all who have declared they're seeking that nomination, I think we can't just limit it to one.
Phillips or Adams, which is first? Phillips, Adams.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it being on an equal basis going forward. I am totally okay with that. I am totally okay with letting every state put on a debate, and if it's got good quality standards, we put it on the website. I am totally okay with that.
Ms. Adams?
Yeah, I'm also gonna disagree that it wasn't made available to everyone and advertised to everyone, regardless of whether with the national party or the advertising or not. This convention was all over social media. It was promoted on every one of these candidates' pages. Every one of them shared it. Their combined reach of the announcement for this convention is far larger on social media than it would have been from our page.
I'm sorry, weren't we out of time?
I was going to say that this is a bit of a sticky point because there is a point of order. Point of order has been resolved. There is an appeal from the ruling of the chair. Appeals from the ruling of the chair are debatable, but we are technically without time right now.
Move to extend for 5 minutes.
I heard the motion to extend for 5 minutes because this ear's a lot better. Is there objection to extending for 5 minutes to discuss the appeal from the ruling of the chair? There is an objection. All in favor of extending for 5 minutes, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 9? Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 9 over 6, not 2/3. No, we're probably going to be done with the argument for the appeal from the ruling of the chair.
Could you what is the issue here on the appeal, please?
I will unpack it all. So,
See, I stepped my
I
five
ruled that
degree
the
on it.
underlying motion, the one to put the Georgia debate on the National Party site, is in order and doesn't conflict with the policy manual. That ruling has
yes vote opposed.
Yes sustains. So a yes sustains the ruling of the chair, a no would rule that this entire motion's out of order, and then we could not proceed to a vote on it. Understood?
Got it.
Please. It's, yeah, roll call's fine. Roll call actually makes sense because it would have the effect of defeating the motion.
So is everyone clear on the motion when we start?
I believe so. A yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair and allows us to proceed to a vote on the underlying motion. A no vote overturns the ruling of the chair and finds the motion to be out of order.
Ms. Van Horn,
Abstain.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm here.
Mr. Nicola.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a real hard time with that. Mr. Massett,
Yes.
Ms. Mattson, Mr. Longstreth.
Yes.
My keyboard just needs to be a little bit here. 1 second. Dr. Laura,
Nay.
Dr. Olson,
Yes.
I will vote no. Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mr. Goldstein,
No.
1 second again. I think I've done mapping here on my thing. And Mr. Hagan, you said no?
Mr. Hagan said yes.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Goldstein was no. Mr. Bishop Henson,
Aye.
Ms. Adams.
Yes.
It is 10 yeses, 5 noes, 1 abstention. Would the chair like to vote?
No, thank you. Ruling of the chair is upheld. We'll proceed to a vote on the underlying motion. That will also be roll call in whichever order is opportune.
And can I
A yes vote would be to adopt the motion to post the Georgia debate on the Libertarian Party page. A no vote would be to not adopt that motion. Any questions before we proceed to the vote? Ms. Harlos, did you have a question before we proceed to the vote?
I just want a clarification on what we were voting on.
Yeah, I'm getting here. Figure out how this chair thing works eventually. When you're ready.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop Henchman?
Aye.
Mr. Goldstein?
No.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
I will vote no. Dr. Olson?
Yes.
Dr. Lark?
No. Or nay.
Mr. Longstreth?
Yes.
Ms. Mattson?
No.
Mr. Merced?
Yes.
Mr. Nicola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
No.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Van Horn?
Yes.
The vote is 11 yeses, 5 noes. Would the chair like to vote?
No, thank you. The motion passes. Orders of the day, next item on the agenda is 20 minutes for policy manual changes.
Mr. Chairman, could we have a break at this point? And I don't know what the checkout situation is, but before we go into a 20-minute thing.
Okay.
20 minutes?
Good luck.
How long of a recess would you like?
I'm good at 10:30, back in at 10:30 is okay.
10-minute recess.
10, yes, that's what I'm.
Is that 10, 20,
Well, so this is the question. So we can either have a recess that's long enough for people to go check out if they want to check out this early. However, and I'm not being overly optimistic, we could also power through after a short recess and get it done in advance of.
What time is checkout?
11.
11 o'clock.
I think you better check out now.
Okay, then you would like the longer recess. If you'd like the longer recess, we can take the longer recess. What period of time do you think would be appropriate?
20 minutes.
Okay, so there's a motion for a recess until 10:41. Is there objection? Hearing no objection, will be in recess till 10:41.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I would be
I see it.
All I'm saying is just so the way
Well, I want to go referral there. There's always
Take that long to discuss.
It's up to you. Yep. Just to prepare to answer questions. Those box articles, all these websites are sharing your data with Facebook, and here's how you check it, and if you have Facebook.org, it's showing up. And so there's going to be a question directed at you, right, about, hey, what kind of data is being shared? So just so you can be prepared to answer it.
Yep, thank you, I appreciate it.
So now we're going to start saying what is proper.
Not the one we use.
I mean, some people might think I'm very imperfect, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, I understand.
No, I talk.
You have to have cooperation.
Yes. No idea. Let's take it.
That's not true. I can give you our search statistics and our Alexis page rate. LP has, yes, a turn of heads in the media are so important, and they realize it's not an official thing. So there is that distance. I have to.
Someone find out.
Only if we could do our best walk here.
Yeah, I did send one.
Maybe I have it. I'm sure I have it.
Show me the website. There is
On the caucus.
As soon as there is, I'm going to go ahead and post it. But I really think it's like
I already got the flag message.
yeah, true. Originally not joining these copies of the very clear line post. That's why we're all here. I think this is message. So tell us.
Oh, well, let me give you his number first, but I'm recurring right now on Nation Vote. That's why I'm like,
He wants to become a firm. How does he become a firm?
yeah, I'll take you through it. I'll make sure it's easier than evidently it is.
He said a sound.
But yeah, we have like Laura Epke and a few people who are.
Well, I'm happy to do it every month. I'll just
No, no, no. There you go.
I've been told that my first video was passed so not enough because the argument and I went out and I
Yes, sir.
What time does this out access
Bowl?
start?
What time?
I thought you said 3 today, but yesterday I wrote down that you said 2. So I told the Washoe County Facebook
All right.
2 o'clock.
Did they buy tickets?
I don't know.
Okay.
Amy has or not. I posted on the county page.
So
for the local county.
Right. Just remember that it's a ballot access fundraiser bowl too. So
Yeah.
have as many people as we can get in there. Great.
Yeah, right.
But 2 o'clock is when they start setting up the food.
Oh, okay.
But
so people will be able to get inside it too.
technically, yes. Let me run past my wife real quick too.
Oh,
Because she's in the
that's
room.
your room?
Yeah, that's our room.
Okay.
So that's the thing about it. Let me just send this off to
So
Joe
some
real
may
quick.
be showing up.
All right. Right. We will probably be out of here before then. As long as I'm there, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my big thing about it. Just want to make sure that I'm there to let everybody
should be.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So I had to support my fellow Yellow Jacket, the Chiefs kicker, went to Georgia Tech, so I made a bet that he'd get at least 8.5 points. So if we get 2 field goals and 2 extra points, I'll win.
Sounds good. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I actually was hoping that it would be the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
For several reasons. It brings back memories.
The first Super Bowl, yeah.
That would have been very nice. I think Kansas City, many commentators have said this, and I agree. I don't think they can afford to get down, several touchdowns against San Francisco.
Yeah,
they got that against Texas, and I thought they had a chance to come back. I didn't know that they'd come back so quickly. No, I'm rooting for them. I mean, I was so sorry they didn't make it last year. I thought they were just really, you had a guy line up outside, play, but it allowed the Patriots to win the ball game. I would like to, I'm going to be rooting pretty vigorously for the Chiefs.
As born and raised Kansas City, Missouri.
No, I actually, my favorite team is the Jacksonville. I go down to Jacksonville every well, I don't know how you get he was the state chair of Florida. He was also on the board of directors.
Chris was just saying something about the SFL.
Great guy.
Yes.
I mean,
is that firm?
Yeah, for sure.
He grew up in LA, and although he's more a pro
wait until they announce criteria, because there's only a certain number of people out on stage. I mean, contact, I set Mark's thing up about it. David Clemente's contact. I know it's very serious. I'm pretty sure Mark is qualified, but I think you're going to take people off the LNC. You have David Clemente on there?
I believe we're friends on Facebook.
All right. But yes, but they should announce criteria very soon. But it's also probably going to be televised.
Yeah, and I suppose it was in Tampa. That's where I met some other people from the greater Jacksonville area. And
if not, let me send you an email right now.
Doug invited me to come down and see the Jags. So I did, and so every year since 2009, I've been going down to go see a Jags game. And this year I went down to see the Thursday night game. Jags versus Titans, and the Jags the Titans were awful.
Oh, really? He's his profile?
And the Jags
doesn't look like him, actually.
Atwater, California.
Yeah, no, that's not him. Let me just send you a quick email.
Because Minshew, the quarterback for been at Washington State, the rookie.
What email you want me to send it to?
Michael Gaines.
Oh, no, let's do this. Sorry,
Michael Jacksonville fan at 2020.com. Maybe they would get back up to the level they had a couple of years ago when they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship. But this year they had a terrible year. So anyway, my team has become the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interestingly enough, my team is Oakland Raiders.
Yeah,
that's because we got a rookie part of that.
For sure. It's the best debate out there. Yeah.
And season tickets. And this was even before Daryl LaMonica got there. This was back in the days when Cotton Davidson was the quarterback and Clem Daniels was running back. This was before LaMonica got there. It was before George Blandon got there.
All right.
So I've been following the Raiders since the 60s.
You bet.
But I stopped rooting for them, frankly, because they became a dirty team. I mean, they were just dirty players, and I don't have. I'm very old-fashioned. I'm one of those people. So it does matter how you play the game. Yeah. So I just stopped rooting for them. I have something of a soft spot in my heart for the Panthers because my youngest brother lives in Charlotte area. To the extent that I have a serious rooting interest for the Jaguars. But again, they all be a Chiefs fan. So good.
And notice who's not here, the person who insisted on the short break.
That'll be interesting next year when we get the Raiders in town.
People running the Libertarian, and I'll be speaking on.
Let's talk. I heard you have a nice chat with Sarah.
Oh, yeah. I want to be able to
Do you know if you're still attending?
I don't know.
Okay, everybody, so we're going to move on to 20 minutes for policy manual changes. And,
Okay, going back to OneNote. Second here. All right. The item that was immediately after the executive director / EE thing, which, didn't happen. The next item is policy manual disputed items, Ray, numerals. And this is similar to the gender neutral thing where if it's agreed upon for one, it will be a full motion. And what the issue is, what I had done and the initial team that I worked on, this was prior to pairing up with Alicia, it was Mr. Hagan and Mr. Seebeck and I did some things, remember a while ago in the policy manual, is everywhere it had a number, I spelled it out, and then parentheses, put it in the numerical portion. I did that so I'm moving, so I can have a motion, so I can make my argument. I'm moving to make this list of changes, the substance of which is where there's a number numbers, it spells it out and then puts the number in parentheses. The reason I did this.
Second.
Sorry. The reason I did this, it is stylistic, as a matter of opinion, on one hand. And it's partly from my legal background that this is a standard. But I believe it also adds clarity. Some people respond better to seeing the numericals, and some people respond better to seeing the words. But there is actually also a Chicago Manual of Style reason I did this. The Chicago Manual of Style is our style guide. And if you go to Rule 9.2 in the Chicago Manual, it has a rule that we generally don't follow. We tend to follow the rule of spelling out only 1 through 10, and then 11 and up putting the numbers. But that's not actually what Chicago says. Chicago recommends spelling out 1 through 100. Has some exceptions, and when you start going through this rule, is this an exception? Is it not an exception? I'd rather not worry about it. Do both. It accommodates all kinds of readers, and it's standard. And this is very common in, I don't want to say like technical documents, but like official governing document types things. But I will admit, right off the bat, it is my style preference, and that either way would be right, but I think this is better.
Mr. Longstreth?
I would be in favor of this. For those of you who ever have to go through and try to find something in the policy manual as far as what's the passage limit, what's, how many votes does it take to get X, Y, Z, to have that number jump out at you as you go through the policy manual, the actual physical number, it is very helpful to see 2/3. It jumps out real quick, whereas if you're going through and you're looking for words, while it is technically correct, it still gives the same information. Having both in there appeases all sides of this potential issue, and it is rather non-substantive, so I'll be in favor of this.
Mr. Bishop-Henchman?
Call the question.
Is there objection to
Yes.
ending debate? There's objection to ending debate. All in favor of ending debate, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposed? 3.
4.
4. Did anyone speak against?
No.
I'm going to recognize Ms. Mattson to speak against before we end debate.
Fine.
Go ahead.
I oppose this change. Frankly, I find it really aggravating when I'm reading through that I have to skip over duplicate instances of the numbers. It's not the standard. It's not part of the Chicago Manual standard. It's not legal brief standard. It's not standard anywhere. And I find it incredibly annoying. When I'm searching for something, I know I can search for 2/3 as a word or either number and hit it. So I don't have any trouble finding things in the policy manual the way it is. And I think it's just extra verbiage that gets in the way that really irritates me. So I'm speaking against.
Okay. We'll now move to a vote. A yes vote will adopt the policy manual changes in PM disputed items read numerals in the one note. A no vote will not adopt the changes. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 to 5, the amendment passes.
Next item. Okay, the next item was miscellaneous remaining. We already disposed of the adding the vice chair reports. But if you go to there, you look at, there's the next item, it's a page 61, where it is just the reformatting of a list. And it was something we didn't reach agreement on. And Ms. Mattson can let me know if she, I don't believe it was because we thought it changed any meanings. It was more preferences. So I would move to make those changes.
Second.
Second. Do you speak to it more?
No, I just think it's more readable.
Anyone like to speak against? Ms. Madison?
I'm trying to recall the discussion after so many of them, I think one was gathered in my head. So I think, just to me, this was kind of shuffling around with one preference over another, but there is also a typo in that first one. H is missing out on monthly, which is really just,
I'll take care of that.
Curry I just caught that, but I think this one was just, I didn't see that the new wording was any better. It just didn't seem like there was any point to it.
Mr. Longstreth?
This is a point of inquiry, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at bullet point 3, and it seems to almost add something that requires staff to turn in reports 2 weeks prior to a scheduled LNC meeting. Is that a change to our policy manual, or is that already in there?
It's already in there. It's moving it from the front. If you look at bullet point 3, it used to start with that phrase.
So this has not been followed? Is that
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about whether it's been followed. I'm just looking at how it's worded.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that wishes to discuss the motion? Seeing no one else seeking to discuss the motion, are we prepared to move to a vote on the motion? A yes vote will adopt these stylistic changes in PM missed remaining disputed items in the OneNote on page 61. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Opposed? 1, 2. 12 to 2, it passes.
Okay, and now there is one last here. This is not a dispute, this is just a notification that I want to make sure that no one objects to. Ms. Mattson and I believed that there were changes that do not require a vote and that I can just make, and it has to do with deleting extra spaces around M dashes and N dashes and things like that. And I didn't want to just make them without giving notice to the LNC. There's no vote needed unless someone objected to just making these.
Hearing no objections. Is there anything else on this item?
Not on this item, but I would ask the chair's indulgence. I'd like to say something that, earlier, you can interrupt me if you just want. Earlier, I made a statement regarding a particular affiliate saying they were going to do something, and I want to apologize to that affiliate just because there might be certain members that might do something weird. It wasn't appropriate to say something, so I do make an apology to the Libertarian Party of Michigan. I did not mean to insult them.
Okay. Is there anything else on this agenda item? Hearing nothing else on this agenda item, we are on 10 minutes for Ms. Van Horn to discuss website sharing data with Facebook.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips has kindly reshared the link, the Vox link, to our email list if anyone had not seen it when it was initially shared. A Libertarian Party member in Region 3 sent a link to me, and he sent it to Mr. Phillips and multiple other people, and it's all over Facebook and social media. Vox and other news medias were putting this information out there. And in the link, it takes you to a place where you can learn how to see what information is being shared to Facebook from different entities out there that you go to on the website. And the Libertarian Party is one of those sites. So our national Facebook page is sharing information and data.
Our national website.
Our national website is sharing information to Facebook and maybe to other places too. I don't know. This just is specific to Facebook, I believe. My question would be, is if we could find out what information is specifically being shared, and if we're not sure, can we find out about it and maybe direct that question to Dan? He's right here. I also wanted to say that I don't care if people know I go to the Libertarian Party website. I'm a Libertarian. It's okay. But other people in the party, that there might be specific data being shared that we don't want to be shared. So I would just want to ask that question.
So Facebook uses a mechanism called Pixel, and it's commonly used across the internet. Essentially, the way that it works is there's a one-by-one GIF that is shared from another site
we see that the request comes in for that person, it's tracked via Facebook. The information that we share to Facebook is these people saw Pixel ID 123-567-912-14. We can then schedule ads on Facebook saying, anybody who has seen Pixel 123-567, et cetera, please show them our ads. So the information that we are sending to them is essentially that somebody has visited our page who has a Facebook account. And that's it. Facebook now stores, let's say, for example, you went to and saw Pixel 123-567-8910. That belongs to the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party has asked to be able to show ads to people who have visited the Libertarian Party website. That is the extent of the information that we share. We don't share anything about you because we don't know anything specifically about you. We can potentially mine that information a little bit more, but we're not sharing information from our side at all. Facebook has more information about you, and we can then say, we'd like to send everything who has been to our webpage and who, what you know about them on Facebook, lives in Indiana. So we can have more specific targeting based on those things. Facebook has the information that you live in Indiana. We don't know that.
May I ask a question or make a suggestion? Or does everybody else talk now?
I was waiting to see if anyone else was seeking to be recognized, so I will recognize Mr. Phillips first, and then come back to you.
I just want to point out, because it came up yesterday, the reason that we did not go to Dan just directly as a private conversation is because it was made public. It wasn't an intent to slight anybody or to do anything, but because it did go public, that's why we addressed it this way, so it could be answered publicly.
Mr. Fishman?
One other thing that I will add is that also if you have received emails from us, you will notice that the emails have links in them so that when you click on a link in an email or a member clicks on a link in an email, we know this member who we sent an email address to clicked on this email. That's how we try to deliver better information as opposed to spamming the members with every single email that we send out.
I appreciate you answering. In interest of what Mr. Phillips had said, this has publicly gone out all over social media, and a lot of people are sharing that the Libertarian Party is sharing information on Facebook. Would you be able to put some of that in writing, what you just said here,
Sure.
so we could have an actual statement maybe on the email so people could read it? Because if our constituents come back to us and say, what did you find out? We'll have to say, well, go look at the email, go look at the link video and find that little tiny clip where you told us. So something in writing.
Right. Yeah.
Easy to understand information.
Yes, I can certainly put something on the page saying that we use Facebook Pixel.
Jeff, the request was for you to provide something in writing to Ms.
Yes.
Van Horn by email,
This can be done.
not to clutter up our website.
Yeah, we don't need that. Yeah. That'd be great, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing no further discussion on this item is complete. We will now move into regional reports, starting with region number 1.
Region 1 has submitted their report and is open to questions, otherwise the material is in there. Yes,
Mr. Phillips.
Just because New Mexico's Region 1, am I correct?
Correct.
And they achieved
Yes,
party status again?
Major party.
Major party status again?
Yes, they achieved major party status again. That is an update I did want to thank you for reminding me.
So I would like to give them a round of applause.
Absolutely.
All right.
And if I could add to that, that is an effort to a lot of activities, a lot of door knocking in that area, specifically calling out Tom Mann and Chris Lucchini for really doing everything they can to continue pursuing that. I love LP New Mexico. They take care of themselves a lot of times, and sometimes we forget to mention them, so they pick up extra.
Mr. Carlos.
This is a recent development, and my husband, Mr. Hollis, knows a little bit more about it, but Colorado is really, it's a total repeal of the death penalty that just happened.
Did the governor sign it?
Yeah, that's, but has it passed full? Okay, so it's well on its way.
Mr. Wendt.
As an
Bowden for all his work on this.
Just, is it correct that the New Mexico party has a Senate candidate that will help them maintain major party ballot access, who would use financial support in order to get on the ballot?
There have been no requests made to me at this time to bring before this body. However, it has been indicated to me that yes, they do have a Senate candidate and I believe a governor candidate as well. And they are still trying to recruit more candidates for those roles.
And that would help them retain major party ballot access. And so if people were interested in supporting New Mexico major party ballot access, they should contact the New Mexico chair.
Absolutely. I have that contact information if anybody's interested.
We'll win the outside. Ms. Carlos.
Yeah, one thing I did also wanted to bring up, I forgot before, and I guess this would be of interest to Chair Sarwark as well, is that Denver is now an affiliate again. So for a while, Colorado we were ashamed that the biggest city was not yet an affiliate, but Denver County is now an affiliate again, very active.
All right. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Longstreth. Region 2, Mr. McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for Region 2, Tennessee, we wrapped up our state convention on January 11th. We have 3 endorsed local candidates. And we're also partnering with Alicia Dern on ballot access litigation at the state. We do appreciate her help. Georgia concluded their state convention the 17th. They endorsed several of their statewide candidates at the convention, including a Senate and 2 public service commission races. They've also endorsed a few special election candidates, one for an open seat, one for a vacated seat. Right now, ballot access is still a big deal in Georgia. They are, right now they have on the back burner, but they do seek to pursue litigation against the, basically for ballot access in that state. So right now, they're still on holding pattern.
I'm sorry, there's a lawsuit going on that right now, correct? I mean, that litigation is ongoing against the 5% signature requirement for U.S. House.
I believe it is ongoing. Brian Graham let me know it's in a holding pattern, so I don't know right now what that might mean, but I guess they're still pursuing it, but they're possibly seeking more resources to pursue it forward. So I will reach out to him a little bit more. Florida, we're going to be having our state convention in February 21st to the 23rd in Orlando. We'll be hosting a presidential debate as well. Karen will be there, and anybody else that wants to join us, more than welcome. And Josh will be there as well.
I think Mr. Henchman.
Mr. Henchman and others. It's going to be a big convention. We really, our political goal for 2020, this is something I spoke with Jim Turney, who's our head of candidate support. We want to see 20 appointed public officials to local boards, so that might mean going to their local city councilman or county commissioner and asking what board positions are open. So we want to be able to build people up and with political clout, so by the time they want to run for local office, they really have the connections that can be successful. We're looking at 50 elected officials. We want to have 50 elected members joining local civic organizations and groups. We want to see 20 candidates in live training events, and we want to see 20 public officials re-elected, so that's incumbents re-elected. And we're going to continue Operation First Step, which is a heavy emphasis on nonpartisan local races for candidates, and we want to build that candidate pipeline up. We don't want to be the soul in the water board party. We want to have our candidates who come in, they get elected to local office, they build clout, and the next time they run for higher and higher level positions. And then as incumbents, they get the people underneath them that want to run into those low-level positions to run, and they keep moving up and up and up politically. We build that candidate pipeline moving upwards. Another thing we're looking forward to in November that might be of interest to the rest of the body is that we had a voter guide for November last year. We had like 35,000 online hits to our LPFW page that were completely unsolicited from people all around the state that wanted to know what to vote on for the statewide election, for amendments, for everything else. So we do plan on creating a voter guide for November, and it's going to be a tool we're going to use and we're going to hand out to our local affiliates that they can actually give it out to voters while they're out there.
Yeah, your voter guide, does it have like issues, like this issue which you find is a hot topic? These are the candidates support or oppose that? Is that what?
So we had a lot of amendments on the ballot in 2018.
Yeah.
And so actually it was 2016 when we had it. And we had a lot of, so what we did, we had it online, so we had an amendment on whether or not we should make it illegal to have Greyhound racing. And we voted, no on that, or no on this, or no on this. Now, Floridians like to say yes to everything just to see what happens. So we had a lot of constitutional amendments that passed, but a lot of people are really interested in that voter guide. I think
Is that voter guide still on your website?
It might be.
I might go and look at it, because that sounds really awesome.
Remind me, and I can try to send you a link.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. And Ms. Van Horn, if you write me, Colorado does that a lot.
Okay, I would like to see some things like that,
Because I like
because
to compare.
Certainly.
I would like to, yeah.
Because we're thinking about getting it in a little paper, a little cardboard paper.
That'd be something that would
pass
build
out.
traffic to a website and also inform people. It'd be a public service and also something very libertarian-minded for our counties and our state affiliates and region.
And I think it'll give us a lot of authority too when we're out there handing out these voter guides and say, by the way, here's my candidate.
Yeah.
And here's a voter guide. This is from the Libertarian Party of Florida. So when you get in the ballot box, most people have no idea what they're voting on. It's a very short description of what they're voting on. It's a very yes or no impulse to vote.
That's
At least
really
they
smart.
have that voter guide, and I think that'll be something that'll be very effective.
Kudos to whoever thought that up. That's
Enough of the crosstalk. Thank you. Mr. Hagan.
Yeah, Nevada's also done the voter guide and found it be very popular, even among non-libertarians, because you have ballot questions, is, I don't know how others think about them in my nonpartisan offices. We like rate or put suggestions for judges and stuff, so it's something I think all states should look into. Something.
Mr. Goldstein.
We're out of time on this item.
Georgia got money to expire.
I'm not sure if I can follow up.
Time has expired. Thank you, Mr. McKayla. Region 3, Ms. Van Horn.
Yeah, the report's in the minutes, and if anybody's interested, but I did want to point out just a couple of things. We've had some good people in the different states in Region 3 taking it upon themselves to do training, and I might have mentioned this last time, but Libertarian Party of Indiana, in November, it was the same weekend we had our Miami convention, but 3 of our Libertarian Party of Indiana people went to leadership training, comprehensive fundraising training for 4 days with the Leadership Institute. It was Jeff Maurer, Mohammed Abbasai, and Duke Van Horn went. But recently we had someone in Kentucky organize, Christy Kendrick organized a campaign affiliate boot camp training, January 18th and 19th. And along with Don Johnson, they had Apollo Pazel and Kara Schultz there. And comprehensive training for candidates and affiliates, and it was really well attended throughout the area near Kentucky. People from other states attended. And Christy went out of her way to set up for candidates to have free headshots taken, professional photos at no charge to them, and that was well received also. So that's an activist out of Kentucky, and I believe she's also been profiled on our Libertarian National website, and I just wanted to do a shout out to her for doing such a great job.
Questions for Ms. Van Horn? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Van Horn. Region 4.
Yeah, you can't see anything if it's written on something this dark, so they have the wrong napkins here, so I had to put something in. It came in this morning, if you've all seen it. If you have any questions, the highlights are just going over what we had was a summit a little bit earlier last month in Visalia, and I'm really pushing our state convention that's coming up. It's like I say, at least 15 of our presidential candidates will be there, so it should be a really good time there. And again, any questions about this, I'll answer. And if we don't have any questions, I would like to defer the rest of the time for Aaron Starr, without objection, to bring us up on he and Alicia's. They're doing monumental work there in Oxygen, showing the power of the initiative. And with no objections, I'd like him to bring us up to date on that.
If there's no objection, Mr. Starr, go ahead.
Actually, I think Alicia can probably do just as fine a job as I can. We're at the table, so if you want to talk about what we're up to, I think you can do it shorter than me.
Yeah,
that's true. I would defer to Alicia. Sorry.
All right, so I'm just going to give you the latest chapter. So the longer story is on our blog, but we did qualify 5 initiatives for the ballot, and strange things happened to them once the city council got their fingers on them. So they did put one on the November ballot. 3 of them they have announced they're suing to try to keep them off the ballot. And one of them, they played an awfully dirty game. So we have an initiative that put term limits on the city council. And ours is 2 terms, take a break. And the city council, once they saw we filed the initiative, while we're out spending our time collecting the signatures, they can, plot against, because they can put something on the ballot really fast with 1 vote. So, okay, we'll put our computing measure on. They're going for November, we'll put it on in March. So what we're gonna do, when ours has enough signatures, it has to go through city council, and they have 2 options. They can adopt it, or they can put it on the ballot. So January 21st, ours comes through to either be adopted or put it on the ballot. So what they do, they adopted it after I missed part of the story. They put a measure on the March ballot for 3 terms instead of 2, and it has a loophole where you can evade the terms by switching seats. So they adopted ours on January 21st, knowing theirs is on the March 3rd ballot, and voters don't know we have term limits, so they'll likely override the tighter term limits. So they're not honoring the will of all the people who signed the petitions that they want this option on the ballot. So they're playing a dirty trick. They've already got printed materials out telling people that their measure will establish term limits as if they don't exist. So, they made some of their printed materials false by their dirty little activity. So that's the kind of things that we're dealing with, but we're not done. So stay tuned. I don't know any other.
I think if you have questions,
Yeah.
talk to us afterward.
Yes,
It's a lot.
It's a much longer story.
There's a lot going on. People are fascinated by the story. I know several of you already asked the president on our email list, so you can see read for yourself what's going on, because it is just an amazing drama. A lot of David versus Goliath, good versus bad. Obviously, really good.
They're flat out using city funds to campaign. We don't get to do that. So glossy mailer that the city put out saying that their measure will establish term limits. It's false. So that's what we're dealing with.
Any other questions? Thank you. Dr. Lark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I submitted the report on behalf of Region 5. I'll be happy to entertain questions.
Other questions for Dr. Lark? Thank you, Dr. Lark. Region 6.
I also submitted a report. I have emailed out an addendum this morning, which I'm going to go over and highlight a couple highlights of things that are in the report. The first is that the state chair of Iowa requested to recognize Kara Scholes and Andy Burns for their efforts in training because they have done such a good job. In Illinois, we've really stepped up the lobbying, mostly at the hands of Jake Leonard, who's done a fantastic job on lobbying. We've got some bills that are supposed to even the playing field for ballot access that, of course, we're fighting an uphill battle on, but he's actually really stepped up his lobbying efforts and drafted some people to come help him out. So hopefully we're making some progress on that. Dalton Brown in North Dakota was invited to the presidential security, or the briefing on presidential campaign security, and he was at least informed that he was the only state chair in the country to get that invitation. He forwarded on the documentation they gave him, so if anybody's interested in that, I have forwarded, in that addendum there is a link to my Google Drive with those documents in it. And then Nebraska sent me a quick update on their report to tell us that they have 3 candidates running for Congress. Dennis Grace in District 1, Dustin Hobbs in District 3, and they have a person who prefers to remain anonymous running for District 2. He wants to remain anonymous until he's actually filed. Other than that, on a personal note, I'm having similar issues fighting against my city council to you guys, and Mr. Howard Buffett and his millions and millions of dollars buying our city council, but we were featured in the Intercept and other fun things like that. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask.
Have you been compared to the devil? Where was this week?
No, but the mayor did tell me that she was quite tired of hearing from me.
I just also wanted to highlight that Dalton Brown and
Right, yes.
Which is kind of cool.
Hardy people in the North Country.
Yeah, there's
All 5 of them.
Oh, that's it. They are, just because it comes up other places, their vice chair is running for and this is in the report, their vice chair is running for office under the Democratic ticket.
Okay.
And they are seeking to address that in their bylaws.
I'm sorry, what state is that again?
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Any other questions for Mr. Phillips? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Phillips. Region 7.
I submitted a written report. We don't have any supplements, however, Aaron and I do want to point out that Alabama and Arkansas are likely to need our help at some point. They're not asking for it right now. Arkansas did it by themselves last time. However, they're both in legal battles right now, so maybe that support could potentially be in the form of legal at some point. So we just want to make sure that too. Yeah, we have, the Texas has issues too. Ballot access specifically might be okay for a little while longer, but we're trying to sort of nominate the process there. Now we've got other things, but I think we're going to be able to ballot there for the next term at least. But Alabama and Arkansas will be the ones that will be able to right now.
Questions for Region 7? Seeing none, thank you. Region 8, Mr. Ford.
Region 8, I'm embarrassed to admit that Mr. O'Donnell, I'm trying to reach Mr. O'Donnell. He's, as you all know, in the midst of a multi-day, multi-platform event on behalf of Liberty right now in New Hampshire. So a report somehow lost in the sauce over here. So we will remedy that. From what I understand, they are having an amazing event right now in New Hampshire. Great form. I'd like to point out one lesson that we learned in the last couple of weeks relative to our media. With the election of a local favorite son, if you will, I should say, the announcement of a local favorite son that he was running the election, we received, as you can imagine, a lot of press. Boston Globe, multiple major network media outlets called in to ask about Mr. Chafee. We learned a valuable lesson on this on a couple levels. Number one, despite all their best efforts to get us to say something negative about Mr. Chafee, we refused to. We welcomed him to the party. And we started to elaborate on the actual process of electing, and I should say nominating candidates to run for the presidency. A lot of the media is under the mistaken belief that Mr. Chafee was already the nominee, and that he did not have to go through an arduous multi-state process. And what it afforded us the opportunity to do was to flip the conversation and go into an extended conversation about, well, how we elect our candidates, how we are not the duopoly. We talked about things like we don't have super delegates, and we don't bind delegates to the election. And people found a lot of interest in that, and the Globe actually reported that, the Providence Journal reported that, and the NBC affiliate reported on that live. And so, whether you are fortunate enough to have someone local running for office or not, I think there's great opportunity right now to promote, in the wake of the allegations that the DNC is about to flip the rules on Bernie, what a transparent process that we have generating from the groundswell of a true grassroots movement that's going on right now in front of us for the nomination for the presidency. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to reach out to the media. It was very well received, and we got mentions in about a half a dozen major outlets simply because they focused on that. And they actually listed other candidates because we mentioned other candidates in the same conversation, much to the delight of Mr. Grassley. So I just point that out as an opportunity, and we got mentions everywhere because of it.
Ms. Marlowe.
To Mr. Hewitt as well, you did email your napkin, right?
What's that?
You emailed your napkin.
You got it, don't you?
Okay, I'm still going. Okay, never mind. Mr. Ford, if you send that to me before I get the draft minutes out, I will get it attached.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's something for me.
Mr. Fishman.
I was just going to add to as a former Region 8 representative, the Connecticut Convention is February 29th. The Massachusetts Convention is March 23rd.
Thank you. I would also note, for anybody who didn't know, Mr. Fishman traveled all the way up to the wilds of New Hampshire to speak to the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire's state convention. It's much appreciated.
I just got a live report from Candidates are petitioning in New York. Petition drive starts in New Hampshire. The mass convention to elect delegates is in March. I have a whole new respect for the convention committee after these past 2 weeks. So Mr. O'Donnell sends out his regards to the convention oversight committee based on his experiences doing something similar.
I have a further update from the Liberty Forum in speaking to my top secret operative at the Libertarian Party table. They were almost to their 10th membership, which was the goal. So kudos to Valerie Soror and Mr. Phillips.
New Hampshire is starting petitioning. Is that what you said?
Well, that's correct.
And they have to. They cannot substitute presidential, so we will have to do a second petition drive later in the year for presidential campaign.
Second is not entirely.
Well, another.
The specific situation is that we will have to gather the appropriate number of signatures for the presidential candidate subsequent to the presidential candidate being nominated. So if there are other signatures that were gathered for governor, Congress, Senate, etc., those would be additive. So all of those drives would do better, but we will still have to gather, someone will have to gather all the presidential signatures subsequent to the convention.
Thank you for the clarification.
They also have really nice petition forms in New Hampshire. When I say really nice, they're awful.
Yeah, the sarcasm came through clearly. Yes.
Time, Mr. Chairman.
Time has expired on Region 8. I believe that concludes regional reports. Are there announcements?
Mr. Chairman, I move to suspend the rules to set the time of the next LNC meeting for, I'm not aware that we did. Did we set that already for?
It's at the convention, Bill.
I know it's at the convention. Was it already set?
Well, so what exists is there's a time that the Convention Oversight Committee is pretty sure they've allotted to our meeting. But the LNC voted
First,
on it?
May 21, Thursday. Right, okay. Just want to make sure it's taken care of.
Yes.
If you guys believe we voted on it at the last meeting, then that's out of order.
I'll straighten up, Mr. Chairman, and fly right.
Promises.
Who knows what it's been, but it's also somewhat constrained by the logistical fact of there's a time that they're going to give us the room. We damn well better be there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
3 to 6.
3 to 6, Thursday, the 21st of May.
Okay. Are there any announcements? Seeing no announcements, orders of the day would have us adjourned. Is there objection?
I object, Mr. Chair, just because it is customary for us to open it up one more time for public comment. And I'd like to do that for anybody that would like to.
I like trying to blend announcements with public comment, but okay. Is there any public comment that was not an announcement?
There was some.
There is not. Orders of the day would have us adjourned.
No objection.
To adjourning. There isn't. And we are adjourned at 11:22 local time.
Super Bowl squares. If you don't have your Super Bowl squares, come and get them right now.
If you haven't gone down to the sports book and placed your bet.
If you haven't gone down and placed your sports book bet.
It's downstairs.
Yeah.
I don't play this stuff, but it's $20.
Go down and you walk up.
Exactly. It's going to be valid access.
Even better.
Exactly.
3 of my states potentially are going to be on this one.
Exactly right.
Texas
Well,
won't need it for access. They just, what they're doing is the party will be on the ballot. The candidates might not.
right. Hopefully what they'll do.
Not only have their ability to nominate the candidates. So we'll hold the ballot line, but it's that whole other argument, right? They're going, if we can't keep you off the ballot, we'll try this shit instead.
Hopefully what you do is,
Hopefully they'll win. They'll
2
be
squares for that. The party is in 27.
I got a late
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock.
Dan, would you drop or have
3 o'clock. It's preferred to show up. That's when everybody.
Will somebody drop the room number into our friendly non-chief chat?
Exactly right.
There's no entertainment option.
Right.
I mean, that's going to get money in the ballot.
Let's go down and,
Thank you. So just to be clear too, 2752 in the resort tower.
Last time.
Yes.
So people who went to 2752 in this tower would be unhappy. 2752 in the resort tower. There is a 27th floor in the other tower. Hello.
But the lawsuit just has to do with.
I'm sorry, what happens?
Doesn't have to do with ballot access.
Well, there is a 27th floor in the other elevator.
Well, it certainly is cheaper.
I don't know.
I don't think they can.
There might be. You think the numbers are...
I went up the wrong elevator and I was late.
Okay.
That's great. That would be,
All right. How many you want?
That's why we wanted to.
2 squares.
is that thing on?
Yep, awesome, thank you.
It's like a bingo, I
Dan,
get to
the
fill it
camera's
out.
off,
You
right?
get to fill them out. Pick whichever ones you want.
Hey, Dan, is the camera off?
Is all that on?
Numbers are filled in randomly? Okay.